Hello, this is Arcades, and welcome to a tips and tricks video here on Stormworks Build and Rescue. And I thought I'd cover something that's small, not really a big thing, and not a lot of people might think about overall in the grand scheme of things. And for the most part, it's not a huge issue. But yeah, we're going to actually talk about a little bit about the advantages and disadvantages of using custom tanks versus prefabs. Yeah. So, hope you like what you watch. Hope you enjoy what you see. If you do, remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think. Helps out the channel immensely. And yeah, let's see how they fill out. Okay. As I said, what I'm wanting to do, this is not like a comprehensive like how-to guide like I normally do. This is just a little tips and trick to give you a little things to think about the differences between using a custom tank, which I've got 3 here, versus a prefab tank. Now, I'm mainly for this little video comparing the large prefab tank to custom tanks of almost equivalent size. So, this mainly will come down to things like cars, you know, small things and such. Yeah. So when you're really getting into that compact space and you're trying to maximize everything you get, these are just some tips to take into consideration. Yeah. Okay. So let's start out. Basically, what am I referring to? I'm referring to the fluid tanks that are used for such as supplying fuel, supplying water for firefighting gear, or anything else. And there's 2 main methods in this game. You have the prefab tanks, which are, you know, you have the small, medium, large. We're looking at the large right here, with a capacity of generally 703 liters. I generally just round it out at 700 when I'm doing calculations and such. You can be precise, you can be, or round it like I do. That's up to you. Not really something we're trying to figure out right now. Now, we also have the custom liquid tanks. Basically what it is a room that you fill with water. A box that you make out of the individual blocks, and then with special parts you add to it, you are able to extract fluid, add fluid, and measure amounts in there, and you can create a volume of space that can hold liquid. And that's pretty much its purpose, just like this. For whatever reason you need to hold the fluid, you can hold it there. Whether it's a fuel tank, again, holding liquid, or, you know, just for like firefighting systems or various other systems there are in the game. Now, both of these systems have their advantages and disadvantages. And as I said, most of the stuff I'm going to talk about for this is going to be in reference to probably small-scale builds. These are stuff that would probably fit inside the train depot, the small hangar box, and such. The large ship ones, that's a whole different story, and I'll get into why a little in a moment. Okay, so as I said, we have our prefabs and we have our customs. Now, the thing about the prefabs is they have some advantages to them. One, if they take damage, they do not leak fuel. Or leak fluid, I should say. So if they take damage, they don't leak. The custom fuel tanks do, because it's a damage, and normally those walls are designed to allow fluid to pass in between as a part of the damage simulation. However, that is not the case here. So if I was to take this gun, shoot that, as you can see, the seawater capacity is not going down. Okay, so the thing is the custom tanks, however, if they're damaged in certain ways, like they will start leaking. So even though, you know, sometimes you'll have, you can use this. Shoot there, and you can see it's not leaking, but we involve damage in with grenade, it will start leaking. However, this, as you can see, its seawater is still there. So as you saw, one advantage of prefabs is they don't lose fuel. So if you're playing like the enemy DLC, or you are fighting against something else, or just in general you can be a little accident prone, you know, it kind of gives you an option to be able to conserve your fuel so you don't lose it, and also keeps from causing oil spills. Now, something else to keep in mind is this shape is a 3 by 3 by 5, holding 700 liters, roughly. As I said, that's rounding. Now, as you see, I have 3 structures here. This is a 3 by 3 by 5, same exact size as that container. This one is also, but however, one of these has a trick to expand its fluids. I'll get into that in a minute. And then this one is a 5 by 5 by 7, but it gives it the internal volume area is actually 3 by 3 by 5. Now, as you can see, like I said, seawater of 696. We go to look at this liquid meter, 696. So for the same internal volume of this 5 by 5 by 7, you can fit it down to a 3 by 3 by 5 with the prefab tanks. This is also true for the smaller tanks, the small and medium tanks, because they are actually basically just creating that area and is a skin that holds fluid. That's the best way to describe it. I don't know if officially in the data that's what it's doing, but anyways, I have to tangent all on its own. But the point is that this is actually holding that fluid within that actual space. And that's the one, like, that's an advantage to the prefabs over to the customs. Now you're sitting and say, well, you're sitting there talking about the prefabs, but you haven't had any pluses about the custom tanks yet. Okay, here's where a few of them come in and think. Now with the custom tanks, like I said, these two are in the same size as that physically, but internally, both of these are different. This one just uses straight blocks, and as you can see, it only has this volume here. There is a meter, this is the meter, there's a spawner, and then there's a port. So you can see this is technically a functional tank, and it only has this one row of area to take fluids in. And it gives it a big, whopping value of 46 liters compared to that. So 700 liters and 3 by 3 by 5, or 46. Now the thing is you can kind of cheat it and get more volume out of this with an excessive building technique. Like, say, if you were to build this out of wedges instead, like this one does here, you can actually expand it up and you can get from 46 to 293. It's not the it's not the 696 listed there, or the 700, so to speak. But you can still get the value out of it. And what I mean by building with wedges, you build the walls of the tank with wedges. So when we go in here and look, you'll notice I've used wedges everywhere possible to increase capacity, because these surface areas do count towards containing liquid. Now, from my understanding, and this is my experience, is that anything that doesn't have a face, like a block face on it, doesn't hinder the volume of liquid in there. So, for example, you could use microcontrollers as a face side, and that extra area that's created from the you have the block face, that's, here, that would be facing out, that you could paint and attach stuff to. That would create your surface area, but then you have that bulge area for the microcontroller that wouldn't. So it would actually calculate that area and add more liquid to the total volume of your custom tank. You can't pull tricks like that out with the prefabs. They just are what they are. You can't change their size. You can't give them any shape. They just exist. They're a very efficient use of the space, but they are a fixed shape. That's where the custom tanks come in, because you can change their shape. They can also be extremely large. You could do the same thing by making a large tank setup with these things, but then you're losing area, then you're losing efficiency with the more parts and such, when it's simpler just to make one tank and possibly section off if you want to, you know, bulkhead it, so to speak, between each tank. Now, an example of this in action, where I actually put this in use, is I have a truck that I built at one point, and I was having to rebuild it and upgrade it because it just would not last on fuel. Give me a second. Okay, so if you look right here, this is a truck I built a while back. It's my Nemesis Prime. This is an early build version. This one's not on the workshop. I do have a Nemesis Prime on the workshop, but that's neither here nor there. And as you can see, we have these tanks right here. And for these tanks, they are custom tanks. As you can see, they are 2x2 on the interior surface area. I think by 4? I'm not sure. And frankly, it allowed me 300, I think, liters per tank on each side of this truck. And while, you know, with the small engine, that was, you know, usable, but that's, I had to upgrade that small engine, and that 300 liters wasn't going to work. Now we come over here. This is the upgraded version of the truck. As you can see, I replaced that small engine with the medium, and in doing so, I also upgraded the tanks. Well, you see, they are longer, but however, externally, they look the same, but functionally, I went and swapped them out with the prefabs. So now I have the capacity of 2 of these prefabs at 1,400 liters, plus a pair of mediums, instead of just the 300 per each custom tank here that was originally feeding the engines. So, and in turn allowed me to get a lot better range out of the truck, and because of the better engine too, got a lot better power out of it. Actually didn't change the economy overall that much. It is a little hungrier on fuel, but I digress. So yeah, that was one practical application I did where, frankly, the decision of using the prefab tanks over the custom tanks was a much better choice. Okay, so I'm out here at the Serpentine train yard, and this was one case where I decided to use a custom tank on a build. Obviously, I've used quite a few, but the point is that the reason why I wouldn't use like prefabs in this is like I do have an area here that is full that would have been actually pretty applicable for the customs or the prefabs, but however, using the custom tank allowed me to install a bunch of equipment in here that was needed to run the tank or the train, as well as allowing me to turn the entire lower section into one giant fuel tank using the wedges and such to expand the room. So instead of having just a, you know, 1 block wide area, I was able to use various wedges in different parts to increase the surface area. So this train has, like, I believe it's like 34,000 liters of fuel. So it's actually pretty, you know, pretty dang, it has a large supply of fuel. I'll just say that, for its size and need. And considering it fuels a 5x5 modular engine, depending on the speed, it can get pretty hungry at times. Still pretty efficient as being a modular engine, but nonetheless. So, okay, to summarize what I was trying to go over. So yeah, basically your prefab tanks are actually good, efficient uses of space for the fuel they carry. However, they are inflexible in size. They are good at retaining fuel should they receive damage, and basically a good safe option when you need to in smaller creations. Custom tanks, very good for large quantities, easily moldable into shapes you need for any individual course, and allows you to store fuels in places where the sun don't shine. So, yeah. However, they do have the fallback that they can leak if damaged. The walls are damaged and such. And, yeah, generally can be bad news in those situations. And that's, and if you got a lot of fuel in there, you could be bleeding a lot of precious fuel if you're in career or any other scenario where the fuel is important. Or any other fluid you're deciding to carry. So, each one has their advantages, each one has their disadvantages. So, hope this helps you figure things out in case you might not have known anything. Or known some of the stuff. Yeah. Anyways, so, hope you enjoyed what you watched. Hope you like what you saw. If you did, you know the deal, you know the spiel. This is Arcades, signing out. Have yourself a good day. Whee!